All right, here we go, and appreciate everyone joining today for the Digital 360 Chat After Chat. And we have a special guest today, and this was our guest that we had on the Digital 360 Chat today, Tami-Girl Linnan. She is an author, a speaker, a Navy veteran. Thank you very much for your service. Suicide prevention warrior, consultant, director of operations to the who's who of the influencer world, an expert action taker, the owner, founder, and CEO of Profitable Shenanigans, the Starving Dog, and Front Office Solutions. So, Tami, welcome to the after chat, and glad you could be with us. I mean, my gosh, you are doing absolutely everything. That's amazing.
I don't know. Well, I don't do everything. I got a great team that most of you don't hear about, and it does a pretty good job of making me look smarter than I am. I will tell you, I'm really blessed to have a great support team. My name is Tami-Girl Linnan, or Tami-Girl. Please do not leave the girl off. And true story, I went from Tamara to Tami-Girl because I have a few friends from England, and I'll tell you what, people with English, they can't say Tamara. They cannot do it. And so
and I made the mistake of calling you Tammy.
It's all good.
In a message. And I was worries. Like, nope, can't do that.
You can't follow rules you don't know about, so no worries. Thank you for having me on. And thank you for being one of my biggest how to use Twitter guides. I've only been on Twitter since November. And
I was going to say, you jumped in being a guest on a Twitter chat, and it's amazing what you can do with Twitter, what you can learn, the connections that you can develop. But you jumped in, your fingers hopefully have been able to keep up with all that, but it's a lot of fun when you're in that. So, let me ask you, how did you get started in the space that you're in? And I see, you're involved with several organizations. You do a lot of influencer management, marketing, consulting, digital journeys. I mean, it's quite amazing everything that you have on your plate.
Well, I appreciate that. Probably the simplest way my crazy bipolar mind probably works, because I do love jumping into situations that others are afraid of, right? I'm that person of, hey, let's get on a plane and go see if we can get into that event and meet Gary Vaynerchuk, true story, and have no reason to be going there, and that sort of thing. So I've been doing that since I was a kid. I started out as a kid, major recording artists would come through our local fairgrounds, and they were very expensive. And most of the kids where I grew up, a little small town, 1,200 people, couldn't afford to get into those. And I figured out real quickly that if we went and volunteered to set up for the event, we got, even if it was standing up in the back, we got to watch it. And so I learned at a pretty young age how to get into places that, quote unquote, financially told me I didn't belong. And I've been doing that my entire life. And then it became something I pride myself on, right? I don't pay to go to events. Most people do.
Right.
I get in. I either find a way to get in via volunteering or whatever. And now I'm usually getting in, and I'm blessed because I have a client that's going there, or we're getting invited, right? Or, again, we just figured that out. And so I love that. I've always just been that person who learned early on that my checkbook that I had wasn't going to get me anywhere I wanted to go at that time. And, did what I could to provide value to have that experience.
So when you look at the events and, use the term ghost management, which I actually really love that term. So what does that entail for you and your teams when you are kind of working behind the scenes? What are you doing for your potential clients and setting up? And, does it include the social media influencer marketing? That it's very intriguing to, learn more about that side of what you do.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, first of all, the name Profitable Shenanigans, the nickname Ghost Management, we were not smart enough to do ourselves. I'm just going to put that out there. I was really, really blessed to be working with Tamara L. Hunter. And she is the founder of Chemo Buddies for Life, which is a worldwide organization that matches cancer patients with buddies so that they don't have to go through that process alone. Really, really, really was blessed to meet her at an event a few years ago. I mean, I was joking. Her name is Tamara as well. Very few people know Tamara. And if they are, they say it wrong, right? So we have a very small group of us. And a friend of mine was like, hey, that's Tamara as well. And I just walked up behind her because she was filming. And I said, you say your name correctly. We're going to be best friends. And I just walked away, as you know, be a smart aleck. And we did end up clicking and doing a lot of things together. So I'm blessed for that. But she deemed us ghost management because she travels with her. She travels the world before COVID, seeking out service heroes, the people you'll never hear of.
Okay.
Doing the real work within communities, right? The single mom actually making a difference at her church. And, you know, those people that sadly 99% of the best people in the world, we're never going to hear their name. And she goes and finds those people. And she called us ghost management because she could tell, she said, by the atmosphere and some of the things that were going on, whether or not she saw me, my team was in that building somewhere. And with that made me feel really, really good. We do pride ourselves on problem solving. And I'm going to be honest. I was a surgical tech for a lot of years, right? And so I'm used to, if things go wrong, somebody could die, right? And so, you know, set stuff up that way. And how I kind of got into the VIP world, again, really honored and blessed. My mother took her life when I was 9 years old. And so I have been working in suicide prevention forever. And I don't speak very often, but when I do, it's on mental health, you know, that thing, where's the starving dog came from. And I was in San Diego speaking at 2 events the same day. And Les Brown Jr. happened to be at those same 2 events. And can't tell you why. They still don't know why. But about a month later, they called me up, wanted to learn more about who I was, and kind of they liked the aura, I guess, of me, because I'm always like coming in. I've been known to have like a, you know, Darth Vader costume on, going into places, things like that. And we had talking, and they were developing a new program. And they said, why don't you just come and see if you can kind of keep up with us? Because at that point, I'd been in business for a lot of years, a lot of standard operations procedures, teaching staff, right? Active listening, launching new departments is something I've done for a very long time. And I started working with them. And about 4 months later, Les Brown Jr. publicly announced I was their director of operations. Before he gave me, I didn't know. I barely had a new job. And with that came the blessings of meeting a lot of the other people that I now get to work with on a day-to-day basis. And that wouldn't have happened. Certainly would not have had all the blessings I have now. Is something I could have done on purpose, to be quite honest. So I'm really, really blessed.
And that's pretty cool. So you kind of touched on it a little bit. So the Starving Dog Action Pack, you know, what is your all's mission with that organization? And really, who are you looking to impact with, you know, the actions, the hashtags, and it's taking action. It's not talking about it, but the taking of actions that, you know, you all encourage.
I'm going to be honest. The Starving Dog Action Pack, the actual Starving Dog, is a story that I used to tell on stages when I worked with domestic violence victims and stuff. What you can't do is come up to somebody who in a toxic situation and say, that's a toxic situation, and expect them to listen and get out of it.
Right.
And the Starving Dog, and I'll send out the link later, is simply a short little story about a dog that's starving to death, who's living on a farm with no fences, right? And it takes you through kind of why the dog doesn't leave. And at the end of that very short story, what happens is the audience or the people you're talking to go, oh, that's my job. That's my merit. That's my whatever. Now they have decided themselves what they're doing isn't working for them. Now we can get somewhere, and now we can get you out of that. And that really was what was developed. So that's been around for quite some time. And so my hashtag, put action where your hashtag is, quite honestly, I came up with that for myself. Like, I wasn't doing enough. I just wasn't in business and life. And we started the podcast, and the original intent was to take front office solutions and profitable shenanigans and grow them large to fund the Starving Dog movement, which is suicide. The opposite happened. The Starving Dog brand absolutely took off, and that the business did not quite at that time. And so we just kind of reverse engineered it, and we created the Starving Dog Action Pack, which is simply a group of entrepreneurs that put action where their hashtag is, which means
Okay.
they are giving back to their communities. They're working with mental health or sexual victims. Operation Railroad's a big one, all the time, right? They're not that person that only pops up on Giving Tuesday for their nonprofit.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, that money is coming out of their own pocket. And so we're all in different businesses, but really we just come together and say, what are you doing to make a change? If you're hashtag me too, that's great. But are you out in the community helping people? Like time, talent, and nothing annoys me more than these people who think they need money to make a difference in the world. And a lot of nonprofits, like to post, well, we need money or we can't help anybody. And that's complete and utter bullshit. You can help people long before, and money usually isn't the biggest thing that makes a organization impact the community. Money's always the last thing that comes.
And I always think of time and talent. And, if you have the time and the talent to contribute, to share with others, that's, in my opinion, probably more important than the treasure part of it, because anybody can give money, but, giving of yourself and giving of your time is really so important to other individuals, to other organizations. And, that's a big part of, what I think and, what I believe. So I've got a question. You are so involved in so many different organizations and different things that you're doing. What do you do to balance your work life? And, how do you keep everything and you keep sane on top of it? I mean, and this is something that I like to ask of a lot of people because it is hard to do. And, you've got to have, your life and some sort of balance there.
Yes and no. I will tell you, any entrepreneur who, I don't say successful, and I don't mean in terms of a checkbook. All right, none of us are balanced. You cannot be great at anything and be balanced. So let's just start with that, right? The Olympic wrestler is not spending as much time with his family as he is in the gym, right? So for me, it's not about the amount of time. It's about the energy and focus in that moment. And I discovered a long time ago, if I go to lunch with a friend and in that hour, I put my cell phone away and I'm just right there with them. And in that moment, I'm nothing more than their friend. They feel more connected. They feel like they got quality time, and I can spend less time with them and maintain that relationship than if I go to lunch with them and I take a business call, which, by the way, I used to do, right? So I made these mistakes. Or, I go out to dinner with my kids or on vacation and I'm on the phone the whole time. And so I just learned to be, if you're intentional with what you're doing, when you're at the gym, you're at the gym, you get a lot more done, you stay more connected, and you don't need that quote unquote balance, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
That does make sense. Absolutely. So we kind of touched on this earlier and going into something probably a little bit more fun. So you said you've been on Twitter, really for just the last few months. Mm-hmm. So what brought you onto Twitter? And now that you've been on Twitter for a couple months, what are some of the things that are standing out that keep bringing you back?
Well, I'm going to be honest, I jumped over on Twitter. And now to be clear, now I do some marketing. And the biggest issue of what I do, really at the end of the day, what we do is we help our clients navigate unique situations. So yes, we might do marketing for one company, right? But we might be doing tour logistics for somebody else or launching a new department for a major pharmaceutical company. It's really difficult because we kind of just come in and go, what's the disaster? What do you need done? And how fast can we do it? Because we're out of the box solutions. If you're coming to us, right, you're not going to get a boring, reasonable fix, right? but you'll enjoy it.
And I love the way you say fourth quarter. You all come in the fourth quarter to help, because I mean, to me, that says, all right, we're running out of time and we've got to get this thing done quickly, or we're not going to achieve what we needed to do.
Well, there's excitement in that, right? Bad things happen when I'm bored. I'm just going to tell you that from a lifetime of experience. And so folks will come to us and go, hey, can you plan an event for us a year from now? Well, yeah, I mean, we could, but it's not fun for us. Why don't you go get somebody who's an event planner for a living, right? We're the people you call when the building falls through or something horrible happens. And you got 3 days to get the Pope on a unicorn someplace else. And that's the moronic challenge that we're in, right? It's not smart, but that's what we do. And I love doing that. So I'll be honest. I noticed a lot of marketing companies and people saying they hate Twitter or they hate this, and they weren't, therefore, they're not referring their clients to Twitter or LinkedIn or something that maybe the brand will do well on. And so because we've been blessed and we're now doing some press releases and things like that, because with COVID, we've taken the media contacts we had for VIPs and some of that stuff, and been able to help small business owners, teach them how to get into a magazine for free and how to talk to journalists and things to get what you want to help them when they don't have a marketing budget. And so for me, it's about the client should always be first, right? It doesn't matter if Tami-Girl likes Twitter or not. If your company would do better on Twitter, then you need to recommend that. And how you can't recommend something that you're not overusing and understanding. And so I jumped on Twitter to kind of figure out like why so many people quote unquote hated it, or why it was just you mentioned the name Twitter and people think that there's nothing but negativity over there. And people complaining, and I have seen it, but not as much as I see on Facebook. And so for me, it was, all right, if we're going to be helping companies, I can't help them if I don't know about every option possible. And regardless of how I feel about any platform, right, I can't give the best advice to a client if I don't know what the hell that platform is about and why it may be for one client and not another, right? Because we're ones about, we have our handle is the same everywhere. There's over 5, I think it was, I forget, the gentleman's going to kill me. I think it was David Meltzer said, on any given day, there's over 400 social media platforms, but the average human being can only name 5, right? And so we started doing research. And so I jumped on Twitter to kind of see how it worked, what the big negativity was, and why people didn't like it, to see how we could help our clients best. And I love it over there. And I think it's the fact that people don't understand how, an argument over Skittles can land you one of the biggest deals you ever have. And that it's short and concise. A lot of people don't know how to be clear, and that's character, and it's intimidating. So I'm intimidating. So in my opinion, I think they steered clear from Twitter because they're afraid of it. They don't know what the hell they're doing. But again, I don't think you're in the right business if you're claiming that you're going to pay me. I will get you more business if you don't understand all the platform options out there. Regardless how you feel about Twitter, not referring Twitter because you don't like it is the most selfish jackass thing you can do for a client, in my humble opinion. Not that I'm humble, but no, I don't agree in doing that based on your opinion.
Yes. Well, Twitter's always, as we kind of talked about earlier, and it's, if you get on there and you find your tribe, your troop, whatever you want to call it, but you find the right places to go and you meet the right people, it is such a wonderful support system of sharing, of learning. But also from a brand perspective, think of it as a great opportunity for you to engage with some of your audiences, to understand what they're saying, what they're talking about. And, you're building relationships, if you're doing it right, with, not only your community, but other people. And, that's a long-term impact that's going to have a positivity on your brand in the long run. It's not something that you're going to get an ROI of, right away. And it's not having the same message like you see a lot of brands with the same thing for everybody, but it's, that ability to really connect and use it, as a different channel. It doesn't mean you need to advertise on it. It doesn't mean that you need to, promote yourself, really, what you shouldn't be 100% of the time, but, it's a good channel to engage and really build that community. So, that's something that I've always loved about it. As we wrap up, this is a question that I ask in the chat, but, what are some of the things that you have advice for others just getting started?
First of all, just getting started, like I said, do research first, right? Go out there, make sure you understand where it is you want to go. Find people to get advice from whose bank account you'll never affect. And what I mean by that is
Right.
I do a lot of things. Like I went 90 days where I was full Gary Vaynerchuk, which was the best 90 days of my life doing things. He's never probably going to know I did that, but what he said worked, right? And so now I know safe guidance ground, right? And so at first, never go straight to the expert who wants to bill you, right? I know that's a crappy business model, but it's one we live by, because you can't make the best decision for your brand by listening to people who sell shit, right? Basically, let's just say that at the end of the day. And so go out there, figure out where you want to go, get educated as far as, that industry and why you want to be in it, and that sort of thing first and foremost. Second, never take advice from people who've never been where you're trying to go. And this is going to be the hardest thing to do, right? So when mom, dad, wife, neighbor, Susie's who is in the same cubicle in the job you hate, telling you not to bother to publish that book or do whatever, is not a good person to take advice from, right? So when somebody gives you advice, for me, I look at that person and go, do I want to be where they're at? Do I, do they have things that attract me to their life? And if the answer is no, then whatever they say means absolutely nothing to me. Now, that is not easy to do because it's going to be your friends, your family, your parents, your wife, husband. It's going to be people that you spend a lot of time with and care about very much. Sadly, you're going to get more negativity by those people at the start than you're ever going to get by any, troll on the internet. And so you have to also go into it with the reality of this is going to suck. I'm going to upset a lot of people. I may lose a lot of people, right, to get where you're going. But I will also tell you, and I've learned this from watching other comedians. Steve Harvey's a great one I listen to. And my mentor, Steve Sims, is most of those people who give you the most criticism in the beginning, those people, at one point, when you get where you want to go, they're going to come back around and they're going to be proud of you. And they're going to be like, oh, I always believed in you. And you're like, oh, but so just, again, it's hard. It's not easy. I've lost a lot of friends around the way. I've lost family members like anybody else. And so being realistic about the amount of time it's going to take to get successful, right? Like I've been in business over 15 years. And, I had somebody the other day go, oh, you're so lucky to work with these people. And I was like, I'm so lucky to have spent 15 years to finally be working with these people.
Yeah.
They certainly were not just at my front door one day and understanding that what you do every day, making your bed, those small decisions, simple things. I used to be a huge one where I would put my clothes on the stairs after I folded them. Going upstairs anyway, but my lazy ass didn't pick them up, and it stayed on the stairs for me. Fixing those small little things is the biggest indicator of business success. It doesn't matter what you learn, doesn't matter what degree you have, it doesn't matter how many, skills type certificates you get. If you don't understand the little things add up, then that's where you continuously stay in that I'm not getting anywhere cycle. And it's usually because of yourself.
Yeah, that is great advice. But I want to thank you for being being a guest on the Digital 360 Twitter chat on Twitter, and then coming on here for the after chat. But, with the chat that I'd love to do is, to not only showcase people, but to get to learn more about those we're connected to, your background, how you got to where you were, what are other things that you're involved with. So I'm super happy that you were able to share more with us. I very much appreciate it. And what I'll do is I'll include links to your website, to Twitter and LinkedIn so that people can connect with you and, learn more about you. But, I'm so happy we met on Twitter and really so glad that you came on and, have a great weekend. And we will talk again, definitely on Twitter.
Thank you, my friend. I do appreciate it.
And outside of it.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Are you clear?